You come from a country that has been through so much heartache and pain and strife. This country right now, your new home is obviously hurting. There's a lot of heartache and issues in our neighborhoods, in politics, between relationships, between communities. What is your perspective on that? I mean, what do we need to do to see change?
Today I'm gonna see the same thing that I have seen for decades. So it's tribal fight back in Afghanistan. So now, today we have it in the United States. The future of the United States will be getting crazy as we had back in the country.
So how do we fix it?
So that's a good example that they could see what happened with Afghanistan. And Afghanistan has like 6,000 years history. But in 45 years, got destroyed. Nothing left. Like nothing. So we don't need to let that happen in the United States. So every day you could see like you're white and you're black, and that's what happened in Afghanistan.
A lot of people are ashamed to be American right now. Why are you still proud? I mean, you're what maybe the most proud American that I know. Why are you proud to be an American?
I had this dream when I was even a child to come to the United States and be an American, and that dream came true. I was working with the U.S. Special Forces as an interpreter for 14 years. So there was a lot of guys, they did the same thing. They have done a lot of missions and support both countries, and especially the humanity around the world.
You received that Purple Heart after a 6-7 hour firefight in the Battle of Shock Valley. One of your best friends was killed, a fellow interpreter. When you were given that Purple Heart, what did that mean to you?
So I lost my best friend in this fight. He was the first guy that he got shot on the beginning of the firefight. He was like not even a foot far from me. We were in an assault team. The first bullet hit him. Then we were surrounded like 360 degrees. More than like 200 enemy. So we lost him that day, and he wanted to come to United States, and he had that dream. From that day, when I'm seeing this in my wall, I remember CK. So I will never lose this, because Siki is mean to us a lot. And he was our best brother.
Here's a man and a woman and their children who left everything behind. There were people in his own family that called him a traitor, and his family's life was put in danger, but he believed so deeply that fighting alongside the Americans was the right thing to do that he took those risks. And that's a pretty incredible characteristic of a human being, if you ask me. He sacrificed more for this country than I think it's safe to say most Americans will ever do. And as a journalist, I find myself lucky to be invited into homes like Booyah's and for them to share their stories with me. A lot of people have this aha moment when they can identify, hey, that was the time that I knew that I was going to be a reporter. I've been asked this question before and I can't nail that down. I just know that I was raised in a house where my mom always had the news on, to the point where I remember thinking that Tom Brokaw was like a part of my family because he was in our living rooms every single night. But I also was raised by a single mother who always wanted me to be curious and to examine others' perspectives. So I think that's what planted the seed in me, was trying not to stay in my bubble. That was a lesson she taught me early on.
How you feel in these days as a journalist? I know you have a lot of responsibility, especially all the journalists has a lot of responsibility. How do you feel?
It's a heavy time for journalists, for human beings, for Americans, but definitely for journalists, because the reality of the hurt and the pain and the strife that a lot of Americans are going through is in your face every single day. But that's why we exist. We exist to shed a light on those untold stories and make change through our stories. I definitely think this is a long haul in this current moment of time, and that we're not going to see a solution right away. But at the same time, I don't know if I'm the right one to even answer that question, because I'm not the one that's hurting. The best thing that I can do is tell people's stories and try to help others understand their perspective. Have you or your family ever felt racism towards you all in this community since you moved to the United States?
Honestly, I didn't see that in this community, but people will look at us like, as a Muslim, that we live, that my kids or my wife, that they are walking outside, and definitely they'll think different. Like 2 years ago, we had old man with his wife. They came to the grocery shop and they start saying like to my wife, but I was on the other side of the store getting stuff. I heard like somebody saying like, you're Muslim and you guys are Al Qaeda and you guys are the terrorists. You guys are the one killing every human. So when I heard that, I said maybe they were saying to my wife. So I left the shop and I just took my kids. So I felt like I'm not in a safe place. Like especially for me, I can live anywhere. Any because I grew in the firefight and I was in the front line fighting. But for my children and family, I felt like it's not safe.
Do you think that man had any idea that you have a Purple Heart or the sacrifice that you made for your country?
No, he didn't know that.
Do you think you would be surprised?
So you could see all kinds of people in this planet. But for me, like, I was pissed, very pissed. So I said, "You're lucky that I have my kids with me." How you would react if you were there?
I don't know if I would have had the class that you have, but I've never had to endure something like that. Yeah, if I saw something like what happened to your wonderful wife, I think it would be really hard for me to keep quiet. I know it would be hard for me to keep quiet, but I don't think we should keep quiet. When we see an injustice like that, I think we have to speak up. And that's a hard line for me because I don't share my opinion, but that's not an opinion. That's right versus wrong. I think it's the duty of every American to speak up when we see something that isn't right. And just even putting ourselves in each other's shoes is important. So for me to sit back and think about what it would feel like to be in a grocery store and profiled like that, or what Black Americans have to face, I'll say this till I'm blue in the face, I can't understand that. I can't understand what it's like for your wife in a headscarf to be profiled in a grocery store, but I can at least attempt it. So to have some compassion. Compassion is really what I think our country needs more of right now.
We're learning so much about each other right now. I think on paper, you look at someone like Booyah and I'm a white, blonde American, and he's from Afghanistan. He has this beautiful family. On paper, my husband and I wouldn't really be friends with his wife and him, but we are.
It's important for us to get out of our bubbles and sit down with people and build relationships and friendships with people who don't look like us. And through those friendships, we realize how similar we are and that we all want the same thing. We want happiness for our family, health, we want food on our table, we want success in our careers, we want to be treated fairly and equally. Heck, I'll be the first to admit I'm not doing enough, and I realize that every day. Like, I need to stretch myself even more. I'm challenged by that sitting here now. But I guess we can just start by having those friendships and conversations, and I challenge other people to do that.
It's crazy world. We all could change it if we all get up and talk.